Okay, listen, please. Today we will go on with what we started last time. Last time we started talking about the model of sales management competencies. And as you remember, we are talking about 7 competencies. In today's class, we are going to discuss 4 out of 7. The first 4 which we are going to study or focus on today's class is strategic action competency, coaching competency, team building, and finally, self-management. So these are the major competencies which we will focus on today's class. Let's begin talking about the strategic action competency. Now, all the time remember, whenever we are going to talk about strategy, we have to mention something which is in common. Like what? Strategy means what? Man. Excellent. Excellent. This is true. We have to remember who we are, what we are doing. Therefore, as Iman said, we are going to wonder what is our mission, what is our purposes, what are our goals, what is our vision or objectives, and so on. So all these things must be answered clearly. Therefore, we have to understand the history and the general trends in the industry and their implication for the future. Well, generally, and as you studied before, all the time, tailoring a strategy means 3 things. What are these 3 things? First, we have to look at the past. Second, we have to look at the present. And finally, we have to draw the strategy based on our future goals. This is the meaning of the strategy. But how we are going to look at the past? This means we are going to look about the things which we have accomplished or we didn't accomplish. Yes. We have to look at our data or information or past experiences. In the present, we have to evaluate our current position. Or based on these 2 dimensions, we are going to tailor a strategy achieving our goals for the future. This is the meaning of the strategy. Okay. Also, if we are going to talk about the strategy will be founded on other factors. Factors including information, because without having suitable information, we cannot design or write down a strategy. Whenever we are going to talk about information, we are going to talk about another thing, which is, read, competitors. What's the meaning of competitors? منافسين. So those competitors, also they are very important. They are going to have an impact or influence on our strategy? Yes. So information and computers is another part for the strategy which we will draw on. In addition, we are going to identify the attractive market segments and their buying needs. Oh, listen here. What's the meaning of market segmentation? I think you studied it before. Haneen. Excellent. Well, this segmentation is founded on major things like culture, geography, age, sex, level of income, and so on. Excellent. So market segmentation means the ability to divide the market based on the characteristics of the population. Based on the characteristics of the population. Give example. Imagine we are going to hire Wala as a sales representative or as a seller for Beit Hanun market. And we are going to ask her, our strategy must be formulated according to market segmentation. In this case, how we are going to formulate this market segmentation? We are going to say, let's define the total number of Beit Hanun population. Population. We do not want to write full names for time or for time purposes. Second, we are going to say, let's segment them. Our first segmentation is going to be founded in 2 things. How many of them are female and how many of them are females. Then this division will be subdivided more and more. Therefore, the male are going to be subdivided into boys, young men, and old. The same thing with the female. We are going to segment them into girls, young, and old ladies. Old or ladies, or name them whatever you would like to name. Now, after these processes or after these subdivisions, what we are going to do? We would like to identify the location of each segment. If the statistics showed us the biggest number of the population, the majority of them, they are founded under these two categories, the girls and the boy. Or imagine, for example, we have a sales agency or a sales company, and our work is, for example, shoes. Yes. This is our industry. This is our industry. So in this case, is this segmentation is going to influence our work and business? Of course. In which terms? This means the biggest number of the shoes product is going to be specialized for boys and for girls. In other words, the stock of shoes which we are going to have might be 80%. 80% of the shoes which we are having, they are specialized for the boys or girls. Well, this means 8 customers out of 10 customers, probably they are going to be a girl or a boy. But is this going to contribute in raising our sales percentage? Of course. Because if you are not going to do that, this means sometimes our product might not be enough for the biggest number of this number of boys and girls. So whenever the boy or the girl is going to come or be accompanied with their parents, we are going to tell them, excuse us, or we are very sorry, we do not have enough stock, we do not have enough shoes for them. But why? Because we didn't have information based on the market segmentations or market segmentation. Are you following me? Yes. Okay, let's move to another thing also under strategic action competency. Under the strategic competency, we are going to talk about understanding organization. We would like to understand our vision, overall strategy, and goals of the organization. In addition, we have to appreciate the distinctive competencies of the organization with respect to market opportunities and limitation. Also, we have to understand how to marshal organizational resources to meet the needs of the customers. Now, look at here. What's the meaning of marshal organizational resources? Manage. But what are the organizational resources? Human resources, financial resources, infrastructure resources, information resources, and so on. So all these are resources. Should we use them or utilize them in our strategy? Of course. Because without these resources, we cannot have a strategy. Or don't misunderstand this concept. A strategy does not mean only a plan on paper or a theory strategy. A strategy means strategy in action. Well, this is the title of our topic. Strategy in action. In other words, we are going to write the strategy in theory, but later on we have to execute and implement it. If you are not going to implement it on the ground, this means we are not talking about strategy. This means we are not talking about strategy. Okay. Also, to add more about the strategic action, we would like to talk about taking strategic actions. With taking strategic action, it is linked with implementation. This means we have to assign priorities and making decisions that are consistent with the firm's mission and strategic goals. So let's return back here. If you are going to talk about our industry is shoes, this means we should be focused on shoes. And I said we should. I didn't say we must. Why? Because sometimes our business might be successful and rich, and we might need to expand or develop our work. If you have the resources and the capacity or the capabilities, go on. But priority should be given to our own industry, to our own identity, to our core business. Shoes remain focused on the shoes industry. IT remain focused on the IT, and so on and so on. Implements a specific account selection, retention, and dominance strategy. And what's the meaning of account? Customers. So all the time we have to be very careful regarding the selection of the nature of the customers whom we are going to deal with. In addition, we have to do our best in order to retain them. What's the meaning of retain? Keep them. And according to the science of sales research, keeping or maintaining or retaining the customers is considered to be the biggest and the highest source of profitability. Keeping the customers loyal to our firm is the strongest and the most excellent resource of increasing our own profitability as a sales organization. We are going to discuss this issue in the coming classes, inshallah. Okay. Also, we have to develop an appropriate portfolio of the account relationship. In addition, we have to consider long-term relationship rather than short-term ones. And finally, we have to establish tactical and operational goals that facilitate the firm's strategy implementation. Now, we would like to focus on two words. The first one, tactical, and the second one is operational. Well, I want somebody to tell me what are the differences between the two. I think you studied them in business session number 1 or 2, as I remember. What are the differences between the two? Now, listen. While we are talking about strategic planning, this means we shouldn't forget the other types or categories of planning. A planning might be strategic, and the planning might be tactical, and the planning might be operational. Generally, if we would like to compare between the tactical planning or the operational planning, we are going to compare between them regarding 2 points of view. The first one, we would like to talk about authority. On the second one, we are going to compare between the two regarding the horizon of time. The authority, those people who are going to take a decision regarding the tactical goals, they are belonging to something called middle management. The middle management, it includes what? For example, heads of the department, officers of the department. And for the operational goals, or for the operational planning, the people who are going to be responsible, they are first line or lower level of management, LM. Of course, LM isn't a type of smoking. LM, the first lower level of management. The second one, or the second difference or point of view, we are comparing between the two regarding time. Time for the tactical planning. All the time we are talking about something in between, which means it might include weeks or months. Exactly, excellent. But here we are talking about daily, excellent. We are referring to a daily time horizon. So these are the major differences between the tactical planning along with the operational planning. Or both of them, they are a part and a parcel from our strategy. From our strategy. Okay. Any question, any comments about this? Now we are going to move to the second category or second competency. With second competency, it is related to something called coaching. Well, as we said in the previous classes, what did we say about coaching? We said coaching includes training, learning, guidance, and motivating. Okay. Now, regarding the coaching, if you would like to have a successful sales agency or firm, all the time remember we have to coach our team members. So how we are going to coach our team members? By providing them with a continuous verbal feedback. When we are saying verbal, we are referring to oral feedback. Oral, what's the meaning of oral? Excellent. In other words, here we have to provide specific and continuous performance and selling skills feedback to our team members. In addition, we have to build a feeling of appreciation and recognition by taking the time to acknowledge a job well done and effort beyond the call of duty or an important victory. Finally, we have to reinforce successes and nice tries to support desirable behaviors. Oh, listen here. A part of the coaching is motivation. Let's give example. Imagine somebody is working with us as a seller. Well, let's return back to Ala or Ala's example. If we are going to tell Ala that our strategy is to achieve or to increase our sales percentage to be more than or 10% for the coming 3 months, October, November, December 2012. Well, after the end of this month, we found that Ala was able to achieve or to exceed this goal by having something called 11% of this what? Of this goal. طب is this an indicator that Walaa's performance is good or excellent? Yes. Is it okay? It's very okay. طيب, should we appreciate and acknowledge her work?
Yes.
Of course. طب if you are going to appreciate and acknowledge her work, what is the impact of this behavior on the soul and the spirit of a staff member like Walaa? She will be motivated and she will continue the excellent work. طيب, what do you think her behavior is going to look like in the future ahead? Also, she is going to double her work in order to exceed or to increase her sales percentage or achievements, which happened in the past. طيب, this is an optimistic and a positive scenario. What is the pessimistic and the unwelcome scenario? If Walaa is going to achieve this 11% goal, some companies or some management, they might committed a very terrible mistake. What is it? They might say, okay, that's fine, or go on. We are not going to thank her. We are not going to appreciate her work. Even we are not going to provide her with any rewarding system or any reward types. But what is the impact on the soul and the spirit of a staff member like Walaa in this scenario? Do you think she is going to be more motivated in the next times? We do not think so. She is going to be depressed and frustrated.
Yes.
Why? Because her performance and achievement was not welcomed or prized. Therefore, part of the responsibilities for the coaching competencies, management must be sensitive. If staff members did an excellent work, we have to appreciate and acknowledge this success and achievement. And we should not ignore this thing. This is very important. This is a part from achieving something called successful sales agency. Okay? Now let's move on to a second thing. Also, while we are talking about coaching, we have to talk about one keyword, which is called role. What's the meaning of role? The type of the work or the nature which senior managers are going to adopt in the front of the eyes of the colleagues, in the front of the eyes of the staff members, in the front of the eyes of the members who are working within the team. In other words, all the time, the manager must be a good example. And we have to add the adjective, a good example. قدوة حسنة. Not a bad example. In other words, while we are going to manage the other members of the team, we should not teach them through decrees. What's the meaning of decree? Laws. This is the policy. This is the procedure, or these are the procedures. And you have to comply with them. You have to adopt the role, and the other colleagues are going to see and look at you that what you are saying is implemented in your personal behavior. But let's give example. Imagine one of the managers is going to attend the office and he is going to conduct a meeting with his staff members, and he or she will tell them, hey guys, I want you to come to the work every morning at 8 o'clock exactly. Any person who is going to be late for 30 seconds, he is going to be dismissed. This is his procedure. Type. Next day, this manager came late. He came 8:10 or 8:30. So, is he giving us a good example?
No.
Of course not. He is giving us a very bad example. But what do you think? Is this going to be reflected on the mood and the behaviors of the rest members of the team? Of course. They are going to say, our manager is talking, but unfortunately, he isn't walking the talking. He isn't walking the talking. In other words, he is saying something from his tongue, but on the actual ground, regarding the deeds, his deeds are completely separated from his sayings. Therefore, in this scenario, this manager is a bad example, which is going to be influenced negatively on the spirit and the soul of the other staff members. Okay. So we have to provide good role models, either themselves or others, and sharing best practices. And finally, models of professional attitudes and behaviors. All these things are providing us with a very important lesson. Be a positive model. Be a positive example. Have a good role. If you are going to make these things, this is going to influence mainly on the rest members of the team. Or don't be satisfied by verbal talking. This isn't enough. Now, let's go to another thing. Let's talk about something called the trust building. Now, this is, or the trust building under the coaching. All the time, remember, we have to maintain good rapport. What's the meaning of rapport? Linkage or connection. Linkage or connection. We have to create or maintain a good connection or linkage with the sales team and fosters open communication. What's the meaning of fosters? Reinforce. Reinforce open communications, collaborations, creativity, initiative, and appropriate risk taking. All these things are important. During the coaching, the manager must do all of them. In addition, we have to add values through communication relevant selling experiences. Or finally, we have to sell or help salespeople to look good through two-way communications. What is the meaning of this? This means as follows. Look at here. All organizations, and as we studied before, they are going to be hierarched into three levels. The first level, we are talking about high management. The second, middle management. The last is lower level management. Now, generally, the flow of communication is going to be in one direction. It is coming from the top and going down. In other words, this senior management, if they are going to talk about a new policy, new procedures, a new strategy, generally, it is going to come from the senior management, and later on it will be conveyed to the middle management and lower level management. Because of this, we are saying this is one-way communication rather than two-way communication. But the best scenario or the best strategy which we are going to do in this way as a successful sales agency, we should add another arrow. With this another arrow means also communication or information should be allowed to come from the bottom to the top. In this way, we are going to have two-way communication. Somebody is going to say, is this influencing the spirit of the team? Of course. Let's give example. Imagine Farah, she is working as a seller, or she is leaving her, or her position is in the lower level of management. If she is going to work in a sales organization, which is adopting one-way communication, in other words, she is receiving orders from the top or from the middle management, and she is just executing or implementing them. This means she will feel and she will believe she is only a follower. She doesn't have a value. She is implementing. She is an executive machine. That's it. But is this going to hurt our spirit and motivation? Of course. It is going to hurt us. Because each person is going to feel that he or she is a part from the executive machine. But if Farah is going to live or work in a sales organization where we are having two-way communications, this means Farah will feel she has a value. But how she is having a value? She is having a value because she can collect information and she can pass this information to the lower level of management, and she can participate in the decision making. Therefore, in this scenario, Farah, she is going to feel self-entity. What's the meaning of self-entity? Exactly. Entity kainuna, that. This is going to motivate our spirit. This is going to encourage us to continue working with open heart and mind in this organization. Why? Because we have a full membership within this organization. But if you are going to work under one-way communication, this membership will not be complete. Okay? Any question, any comments, any suggestion? Move on. In addition, we will continue talking about the team building competency. Now let's talk about designing teams. All the time, remember, if the sales agency would like to succeed in its work, this means senior managers must be able to hire the best members who can work according to the spirit of a team. According to the spirit of a team. Somebody is going to say, all people can work within teams. The answer is no. Therefore, at the very beginning of this semester or course, what did I tell you? I told you there is going to be a research project. This research project is going to be conducted by a group of students. Some of the students objected or protested. They said, we prefer to work alone. If you are going to say, I prefer to work alone, this is a signal you are not ready to work within a team. Or you do not want to work within a team. Or you do not feel comfortable working within the team. Well, this thing is something disadvantage for you. Especially if you are talking about current management. Current management is saying simply, nowadays, organizations which will be founded on one person, one manager, is a failure organization. Now, the whole work is done through teams rather than through individuals. But this is one of the purposes for why I am assigning teams. Why we are assigning teams regarding our research for this project. Okay, so we have to create a reward system that is fair within the context of team effort. We're rewarding, it is reminding us with the motivating which we have just talked about. But here we have a condition. This condition is informing the senior management. And no, it is a beautiful and nice thing to create a reward system to motivate our employees. But we have to add another word. We are talking about equity. We are talking about fairness. Well, let's give example. Wala and Haneen, both of them, they are colleagues. They are working within one team. Haneen, she did a very excellent work. And her relationship and the personal one with the supervisor is excellent. Because of this, the manager decided to provide her with a reward. Well, this reward might be a bonus, might be a thankful letter, or whatever. Wala, she did the same work, but unfortunately, her relationship with the supervisor, sometimes it is tense. Therefore, the manager decided to reward Haneen and to ignore Wala. Is this an acceptable, a fair rewarding system? No. But is it going to create problems? Yes. With Wala only? No. With every member within the team. And with every member within the organization. Why? Workers or employees or salespersons, they are smart, they have brains, or they are very sensitive. Whenever they are going to smell that there is a kind of bias exercised by the senior management, this is going to crack the unity of the team. What's the meaning of crack? يشرخ. Crack, شرخ معناها. The unity of the team, what is going to influence negatively on the overall performance of the organization. Okay, also we have to coordinate team goals with the overall goals of the organization. Remember, a team is one part from the overall organization. In other words, if you are going to establish a team, our goals or the goals of the team should not be separated from the overall goals of the mother, which is the organization. Also coordinate team activities with the requirements of functional areas within the organization. So all these things are tips and advices for managers in order to reinforce something called designing sales teams. Any question, any comments about this? Continue with the team building. Let's talk about creating supportive environment. Managers also should hire people that will be successful in team environment. Well, as we said, some people, they are mastering working within teams. Other people, they are unfortunate. They are not able to do or to coordinate or to adjust with the colleagues within the team. If you are going as a manager, feel that some of the members, they cannot do or work within a team, they should be removed. If you are not able to train or educate them how to work as a member within a team. Also, training programs that encourage teamwork who integrates the individual members of the sales team together to form a function supportive teams. Any question about the team building? Any question? Remember our goal. Nowadays, work is done through teams rather than through individuals. Well, this is the nature of today's organization. Either we are talking about sales or non-sales ones. Okay, let's talk about team building once again. Or let's talk about managing team dynamics. What's the meaning of the word dynamics? Exactly. It is mobilized. It is changeable all the times. Which means what? We have to understand the strengths and the weaknesses of the team members and using their strengths to accomplish tasks as a team, once again. Also, facilitate cooperative behavior and keeps the team moving toward its goals. Well, this is our goal. Team should go on and focus on one area, which is the goal which we must achieve, the goal which was assigned to us. Let's give example. Imagine Fatin and Iman. Both of them, they are working within a sales team. You as a manager, you must be able to analyze the personalities of each staff members, Therefore, Fatin, if we know from her personal file, she is very nervous, or she can be agitated easily. And we know, on the other hand, Iman's character is completely different. She is very relaxed, she is patient, or she can deal even with the hard people. In this scenario, imagine if you are going to have a position, and this position is for a staff member who is going to interact and deal with customer service. Well, as you know, customer services, this department is going to handle customers' problems or customer complaints. In this scenario, as a manager, if you would like to divide the roles of the members of the team, whom should be given this post? Fatin or Iman? Iman, of course. Because of this all the time, remember, each one has its own strength and each one has its own weaknesses. According to the strength point, we must assign his role and his responsibilities and duties. Yes. We must keep him away or keep her away from the position which is going to display her weaknesses. Well, this is the responsibility of whom? The manager. Okay? The same thing, we should facilitate cooperative behavior and keeps the team moving toward its own goals, as we said before. Any question, any comments about this? If somebody is going to say, well, I am perfect, no, you are not perfect. Each one of us has its own weakening points and strong points. Do the work according to the strong points which the member is having. By this way, we are going to create a very solid and strong team members. Okay? Any question, any comment about this? Okay, let's go to the final competency. The final competency for today's class, we are going to talk about something called self-management. Remember, if I'm going to say self-management, whenever we are going to listen to this word or to this phrase, you are going to connect it with words like, what is it? Accountability, delegation, initiative, leadership. What else? Responsibility. So what do we understand from these words? We are understanding from these words that nowadays members of the team should not wait till orders will be given to them. Members within the team should not wait till the orders are going to come to them. In other words, they have to be initiative and they have to act and work alone and independently, if possible. Or don't be just a recipient of instructions. Don't be just a recipient of instruction. Work nowadays isn't done through this way. In addition, management doesn't have enough time to provide you with every tiny instruction. Management would like to look at a team member who can understand quickly and who can act independently. Okay. So all the time we have, or we should have clear personal standards that serve as a foundation for a sense of integrity and ethical conduct by sales team. Projects self-assurance doesn't just tell people what they want to hear. Also, we should have willing to admit mistakes and accept responsibility of our own actions. Well, listen here. Working independently doesn't mean we are going to avoid our responsibility. Senior management of any sales organization or any organization generally, they must reinforce something called code of ethics. Code of ethics. This code of ethics should not have or should not be written only, but also members should see it through the behavior and the models of the managers. Now, imagine you are a manager, and while you are walking through the corridor of the company, you heard one of your staff members who is working in the sales team he was shouting over the phone with one of the customers. After he finished his phone call conversation, you invited her to come to your office. And you said, I heard you screaming or shouting over the phone with one of the customers. What were you doing? Or justify your behavior. If this staff member knows that his management or her management is trusted, open-minded, or they ensured self-assurance or self-management, the employee directly will say, I am sorry and I am apologizing. Or he is going to explain what happened exactly. And he will or she will bear the responsibility. But if the management of the staff member didn't reinforce the self-assurance, or didn't accustom the working staff members with something called self-management, what do you think or how the behavior of the employee is going to be? Exactly. Excellent. He is going to lie. But why? Because originally he isn't trusting the management. He is saying, if I'm not going to lie, they might be able to cut my neck. Therefore, these things should not be reinforced. We should reinforce something called transparency, self-responsibility, self-management, ability to convince that we are committing mistakes. If the management is going to establish these foundations, we will reinforce the feeling of trust with the employees. You should expect this result. Employees, if they are committing mistakes, they will say, we are carrying the responsibility. But they are not going to lie, negating that we are not bearing such responsibility. Any question, any comments about this? Any question about today's class? What did I say, Amen, last time? Yeah, thank you. Yes. Now listen. Now we would like to agree on the groups. Now my question is the following: who didn't have a membership within a group? Who didn't have a membership within a group? Everybody? Type. I would like some of the students to raise their own hands if they are having a group of two. Two? ولا حنين two? Two? Okay, three. Four. So everybody got a membership within a group? Who didn't take? So everything you didn't take? Okay. Who would like to have a membership for your colleague? What's her name? Aisha. Aisha doesn't have a team. Who would like to invite her to come and join their team? None? You are greedy. You? Okay, that's fine. Coordinate with her. ماشي Aisha? Any question, any comments? See you next time. Thank you very much. See you next class.